Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Cash Money and this is why you should play Inscryption. So as per usual, the mandatory warning, there will be spoilers in this video in regard to the gameplay, mechanics and the story of Inscryption. However, I have broken it down into sections so that you can refer to the section that interests you in particular. I will preface this video by saying this. Inscryption is truly best experienced if you are going into it completely blind. And as such, the first section of this video will be as spoiler-free as I can make it to be, without spoiling any major plot points, except from the things that you will be told or figure out by yourself within the first 2 hours of gameplay. In either case, please do like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this video and this type of content in general, as I am planning to make a Why You Should Play series and it will greatly help my channel. And thus, without any further ado, let's get into it. So, what is Inscryption? Well, it's a horror-esque, roguelike deck building game, if I am to be very non-specific, but for now it will do. The card game is played on a 3x4 grid, and it is later expanded to a 3x5 grid, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. The way the game works is that you summon creatures to fight for you and against your opponent's monsters, and if there is nothing directly in front of them, these monsters attack the game master's health points and vice versa. To summon your creatures, you will have to perform a different level of sacrifice depending on a unit's cost. Your deck starts with a 3, then 4, then 5 basic monsters that have 1 and 2 sacrificial costs, and your side deck has squirrels. Squirrel is the sacrificial monster that you will be summoning a lot to sacrifice for your stronger units, followed by sacrificing squirrels alongside your other summoned creatures to summon stronger entities to battle it out against the Game Master. I call the shadowy creature in front of the player the Game Master for a purpose here. In Inscryption, it is not your traditional TCG card game, where both players abide by the same rules. Here you play a Game Master's game, in a scary, tabletop-like dungeon-crawling RPG fashion, as he guides the player through his game that he set out for you on his drawn maps. Your deck starts out with basic monsters that you can infuse with a variety of augments. These augments allow for a large variety of choices. You can sacrifice one monster to give its effect to another, or give its stats to another unit. You can also risk the unit to add some health points to it. You can also leave a unit behind or get yourself a new unit. And finally, you can augment a type of unit by collecting specific totems that will vary per run. Then, you can also buy merchandise from one merchant so that you can sell it to another for stronger entities. This is the basics of what Inscryption is, and this is what you will experience before your first death. With every new death, the player is introduced to new game mechanics, such as bones, for example. Bones is a different type of cost that you can pay to summon a unit. A player acquires bones through losing a unit via any means, be it sacrifice or battle. This allows for further in-depth tactics that a player can use for themselves and the type of deck that they want to experiment with. To explain how to win any given battle in the game, I first have to explain how the health points work in the game. You and the Game Master start around with an even weighting scale for each of you. Each direct point of damage costs a golden tooth or a HP point. However, if you do the same amount of damage that you have taken during a Game Master's turn, the scale evens out again. In a way, you can think of it as healing back the amount that you have lost. And to win, you have to make a difference of 5 points in your favor, such that if you have received 0 damage, you have to attack for 5 points to win. And if the round has progressed to where the both of you have taken 10 points of damage in equal segments, retrospective to each other, you still have to make a difference of 5 points in your favor to win. Though my experience may of course differ from someone else's, given the nature of how the round is played out is very tempo driven, swarming the field as fast as possible with units of high utility is the optimal way to play and win consistently, but experimentation is key here. Each new round will play out differently, and the player has to constantly adjust not only their winning strategy, but their tactics during any given moment. This is because Game Master plays by his own set rules, and can pull out a unit onto the board for free, even though to summon the same unit will cost the player 2 or 3 sacrifices. But this is what makes Inscryption very fun and engaging, as every round is different. And at the end of each map, there is a boss level that turns the rules that the player has learned previously onto its head, and introduces some new crazy mechanic that a player will have to adjust for, or perish. As you boot up Inscryption, you hear somebody's voice, and you are not able to start a new game. The option is grayed out. It forces you to continue. After every in-game death, you learn that every subsequent run is played by a new challenger, as every game is played with the challenger's life on the line, and every card that is played is a photograph that the shadowy Game Master has taken. Every creature that we encounter was a being that is now entrapped via his photo camera that prints out cards as mementos for him to keep to satisfy his maniacal, sadistical needs. In terms of game mechanics, this is a very cool feature, as with every death your previous character can be met as a reward in your next run. If you're able to make a consistent deck with good effects, there is a big chance that you will be able to create a powerful memento card that could by itself win you any round except from the boss battles. Anyhow, after every death, on top of new mechanics, you meet mementos that are animated and are able to speak to you. These units will slowly lead you to explore the wooden cabin that you are stuck in, and complete puzzles via new given information. My favorite one in particular during this part is where you finally are able to pick up a knife that you've been looking at for so long. This knife is one of the singular use tools that you are given every match thereafter to sway the match in your favor that is not a card, but are still a part of the game mechanics. The way that the knife is used is cruel. You can pluck out your character's eye to put it onto the scale to balance the health points, or to turn the scale into your favor, but this comes at a cost. Your character loses the eye, and as such everything becomes extremely blurry for the remainder of the round. In my opinion, this is very immersive, as it really adds make-believe that your in-game character wages their body parts and their life to proceed in this cruel game. Anyway, it doesn't stop there. If you are able to win that match, with the eye as a sacrifice, the Game Master will reward you with a new eye to take its place. If the player is attentive to details, they will see one particular eye that stands out. It glows differently. This eye is magical, and it allows the player to see what was previously impossible, and with it, a player can solve other puzzles within the cabin that were previously locked to them. As the player unlocks these rewards after completing puzzles and receive more talking mementos, in total there are 3 of them, and they, in a very cryptic fashion, tell the player more of the mystery of the game, as it draws the player further into the mystery of the game's universe. This is as far as I can explain the game mechanics and try to convince you of the fun that you will have in Inscryption without introducing any spoilers, and as such, this is your second and final warning in regard to the spoilers. Anyhow, Act 1 finishes when a player is finally able to beat 4 maps, each ending with a boss battle. These bosses being the Prospector, the Angler, the Trapper and Trader, and finally the Game Master himself, the Leshy. After you beat the Leshy, Inscryption changes completely. Remember how I have previously called Inscryption to be a creepy roguelike deck builder game? Well, that was a lie. Well, not really. The Act 1 really was exactly that. But after Act 1, Inscryption evolves. It is no longer a roguelike deck builder. It evolved into a story-driven game that focuses on a conspiracy that takes place in the real world as well as inside of a game, whilst using a card game as a system to drive the narrative further. The player learns that the voice that we have heard at the very beginning was of a vlogger called Luke Carter, who was collecting rare card packs for his channel when he stumbled upon Inscryption, the card game, and inside one of the packs he has found IRL coordinates that were very close by to his whereabouts, and as such he went on to investigate further. In his investigation, he has found a copy of an unknown, unpublished game that no one ever heard of, called Inscryption, the video game. Following these videos, we follow Carter's journey into the conspiracy rabbit hole as things get creepier and creepier in real life. And then we also learn that the player who was actually playing the video game is Luke, and everything that the actual player, you, is doing inside of Inscryption is just seeing what Luke has experienced through your own eyes. It is very brain-twisting in a Matrix-like fashion, and it is wonderful. This is followed by 2 more acts within Inscryption, the video game, as well as some more footage of Luke and the creepy events that happened to him IRL that I want you to experience for yourself, so I will not say anymore. I think this game is phenomenal. In a world where gaming industry is losing its soul quicker than the inflation is able to skyrocket, cluttered with Diablo Immortals, microtransactions, it is beautiful to see passionate game developers thrive and produce such gems. Inscryption is truly a testament to a great game design, with great mechanics and a great story to boot. But I reckon fair is fair, and if I gave my praises, I also have to give my critiques too. I myself did not really enjoy Act 2. I do see its narrative value, as it basically does the world building part of the game, where we see the domains of the scribes, their habitat, and their personalities. But I feel that in regards to the gameplay, it is the weakest, as you get 4 archetypes of cards to build the deck, which potentially opens up the largest build diversity within the game, for which I was very excited to mix the mechanics of. But then the fights felt very trivial, as there would be one simple gimmick that is easily overcome. And in my particular case, I high rolled 3 robot spiders, a grizzly bear, and 3 Urioli, which ended the fights in 2 turns. The premise for the combo is simple. You get 1 energy minion that you can summon turn 1. You have a spider to play on turn 2 that is worth 3 sacrifices. Then you sack the minion and a spider and summon Urioi and end the game in 1 hit. I felt like I broke the game. But then again, Inscryption is a story-driven game, so it makes sense for the broken stuff to be left in for the players to find and enjoy. My next point goes for Act 2 and 3 together, and this one is definitely hyper-subjective, because I loved the structure of Act 1 so much, as I went on to grow my deck from scratch every time I failed, akin to Slay the Spire, which allowed for a lot of experimentation and testing of game mechanics, which of course was designed this way on purpose, for the players to do exactly that, learn the mechanics, attributes and effects of the game. But then in Act 2, you get to craft your deck akin to Hearthstone, find the best combo, use the best combo, profit, and if you do fail, you literally end up respawning directly in front of the enemy, so you get to instantly challenge them again. By the way, when I say I did not really enjoy Act 2, I just mean Act 2 was the weakest out of the 3 acts for me. I still played through it like a breeze, as I completed the game in 2 game sessions. And as for Act 3, I enjoyed it more than Act 2, as the combat system is an extension and a build-up of the previous 2 acts. I enjoyed 1 additional road to play with, but then similarly to Act 2, there is a checkpoint system now, so you can fail at a boss and restart it instantly, as the checkpoint is just 1 step away from the battle. And you don't get to have opportunity cost driven decision making on the world map now, of whether you want to get a new card or buff an old one. In Act 3, the type of reward after a battle, or in the next room, is set in stone. As such, it felt as if the game just wants me to win and beat it at this point, and that my card game skill doesn't really matter. But once again, I'm just nitpicking at this point. As Inscryption is a story-driven game, and Act 3 is focused on PO3 personality to make his card game objectively better than all the other scribes, and Act 3 does indeed do a fantastic job at portraying him as a hungry megalomaniac. Finally, even though I did reach complete satisfaction of beating Inscryption, and then loading into KC mod to play Act 1 with various challenges again, I can't help but feel as though a piece of a game is missing, without having an act dedicated to the 4th scribe. I think it would have been really cool to have a chapter dedicated to Grimora. She's also the 2nd scribe that we meet in a card form, so to me, it feels as if there's always gonna be a missing piece to the puzzle. But then again, in regards to the story, it does make sense, as she's the good one out of the 4, so to speak, so she does not play an antagonistic role in the story. Anyway, it's time for the cash money meter score, and my score for Inscryption is definitely a must-play masterpiece out of 1000 cash monies. Please do comment down below what your own experience with Inscryption has been, if you played it of course, and if you haven't, what deterred you from playing it.